The accidental discovery Dr. Marcus Chen pressed his face against the reinforced observation window, watching the massive quantum field generator spin to life in the chamber below. The machine was humanity's latest attempt to improve upon the standard faster-than-light drives that the Galactic Council had reluctantly shared with them 50 years ago. Those drives worked, but they were slow and limited compared to what the older alien races used for themselves. Field stability at 90%, called out Dr. Yuki Tanaka from her console. The Japanese physicist had been Marcus's closest collaborator for the past 3 years, and her expertise in quantum mechanics was unmatched among human scientists. All systems showing green across the board. Marcus nodded, feeling the familiar mixture of excitement and anxiety that came with every major test. The Lunar Research Station had been humanity's premier deep space research facility for over 2 decades, hidden on the far side of Earth's moon to avoid curious eyes. The work they did here pushed the boundaries of what the Council considered safe for a junior species like humanity. Commander Torres, are the monitoring stations ready? Marcus asked, turning to the stern-faced military officer who stood nearby. Commander Lisa Torres had been assigned to the project by Earth's Space Command to ensure that their research had practical military applications. She was a woman who understood both the potential and the dangers of what they were attempting. All sensors are online and recording, Torres replied, her voice crisp and professional. The containment field is holding steady. We're as ready as we'll ever be. Marcus took a deep breath and gave the final order. Initiate quantum breach sequence. The chamber below erupted in brilliant light as the field generator reached maximum power, unlike the smooth, controlled energy patterns of standard FTL drives. This experiment was designed to create a more aggressive breach in spacetime. The theoretical calculations suggested it could achieve speeds far beyond anything the Council had ever shared with humanity. For the first few seconds, everything went according to plan. The quantum field stabilized, creating a shimmering distortion in space that looked like heat waves rising from hot pavement. The test probe, a small unmanned craft about the size of a shuttle, began moving toward the breach point. Then something went wrong. The probe didn't just disappear into the breach as expected. Instead, it seemed to tear through reality itself, leaving behind a jagged wound in space that pulsed with dark energy. The tear was only a few meters wide, but it radiated power that made all their instruments scream warnings. "Shut it down," Marcus shouted, but Yuki was already at her console, frantically trying to collapse the field. "The controls aren't responding," she called back, her usual calm demeanor cracking. "The breach is self-sustaining now." The tear in space lasted for exactly 7 seconds before finally sealing itself shut. When it was over, the chamber was filled with an eerie silence. All 3 humans stood frozen, staring at the empty space where reality had been wounded. "Where's the probe?" Torres asked quietly. Marcus checked his instruments, his hands shaking slightly. According to the telemetry, it reached the Proxima Centauri system. He paused, double-checking the readings. The entire 4-light-year journey took 12 minutes. The implications hit them all at once. A trip that should have taken weeks with standard FTL technology had been completed in mere minutes. But the cost had been a literal tear in the fabric of space itself. "We need to run." "The full analysis," Yuki said, her voice barely above a whisper. "But if these readings are correct, we've just created the fastest FTL drive in known history." Over the next several hours, the 3 scientists worked frantically to understand what they had accomplished. The quantum breach drive, as they began. calling it, worked by forcibly tearing holes in space-time rather than gently folding it like traditional FTL systems. It was brutal, dangerous, and impossibly fast. Marcus was reviewing the energy readings when an urgent communication came through from Earth's orbital monitoring station. The message was brief but alarming. Massive spatial anomaly detected. Council ships moving to investigate. Expect contact within hours. They felt it, Torres said grimly. The Council sensors picked up our test from 4 light-years away. The Galactic Council had monitoring stations throughout human space, ostensibly to protect humanity from dangerous cosmic phenomena. But Marcus knew their real purpose was to watch for exactly this kind of breakthrough. The older alien races were terrified of younger species, developing technology that might threaten their carefully maintained balance of power. 3 hours later, Ambassador Zethkar arrived at Lunar Station aboard a sleek Council diplomatic vessel. The reptilian ambassador was one of the few aliens who regularly dealt with human governments, and his presence meant that the Council was taking this incident very seriously. Zethkar was tall and imposing, with scales that shifted color based on his emotional state. Right now, those scales were a deep red, indicating extreme agitation. His large, intelligent eyes fixed on Marcus with an intensity that made the human scientist uncomfortable. Dr. Chen Zethkar said in his carefully modulated voice, "We need to discuss what happened here today." They met in the station's main conference room, where Marcus, Yuki, and Torres faced the alien ambassador across a polished metal table. The room's curved windows showed the stark lunar landscape outside, but Marcus found himself focusing on Zethkar's changing scale patterns. The Council's sensors detected a massive spatial disturbance originating from this facility. Zethkar began. "Our preliminary analysis suggests that you have created some form of enhanced FTL technology." Marcus exchanged glances with his colleagues before answering. "We were conducting approved research into improvements to standard FTL drives. The results were ... unexpected. Zethkar's scales shifted to a darker red. "Dr. Chen, you tore a hole in space-time itself. Our sensors registered the wound from monitoring stations across 3 sectors. Do you have any idea what you've done?" "We've created the fastest FTL drive in galactic history," Torres said boldly. "Our test probe reached Proxima Centauri in 12 minutes. The ambassador's scales turned almost black. "Commander Torres, you've created an abomination. The quantum breach drive, as I believe you're calling it, doesn't just move objects through space. It damages the very structure of reality." Yuki leaned forward, her scientific curiosity overcoming her caution. "What kind of damage?" "Our instruments showed the breach sealed itself completely. The breach may have closed, but the damage remains," Zethkar explained. "Space-time has a memory, Dr. Tanaka. Every wound leaves a scar. Use this technology repeatedly, and you'll create permanent instabilities that could make FTL travel impossible throughout this entire region of the galaxy." Marcus felt his heart sink. The greatest discovery in human history, and it was too dangerous to use. Is there a way to modify the drive, to make it safer? "The Council's best scientists have been analyzing your test for the past 6 hours," Zethkar replied. "Their conclusion is unanimous. The quantum breach drive cannot be made safe. It is a weapon of mass destruction disguised as a transportation system." The room fell silent as the humans absorbed this information. Marcus could see the disappointment in his colleagues' faces, but he also saw something else: determination. Humanity had been held back by the Council's restrictions for 50 years, always told that they weren't ready for truly advanced technology. Now they had created something that surpassed even the Council's capabilities. What if we use it sparingly? Marcus asked. Only for emergencies or for exploration missions to distant systems? Even limited use would be too dangerous, Zethkar insisted. The Council has made its decision. All research into quantum breach technology must cease immediately. All data must be turned over to Council scientists for safe disposal. Torres stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. Absolutely not. This is human technology, developed by human scientists on human territory. The Council has no right to confiscate our research. Commander Torres, you're not understanding the gravity of the situation. Zethkar's voice took on a warning tone. This technology threatens the stability of space itself. If you refuse to cooperate, the Council will have no choice but to take more direct action. What kind of direct action? Marcus asked, though he was afraid he already knew the answer. Quarantine, Zethkar said simply. Human ships would be restricted to the Sol system indefinitely. Council vessels would patrol all jump points to ensure that no human craft equipped with quantum breach drives could leave this system. The threat hung in the air like a physical presence. Marcus could see the anger building in Torres's expression, and he knew that the commander was thinking the same thing he was. After 50 years of second-class citizenship in the galactic community, humanity finally had a technological advantage, and the Council wanted to take it away. We need time to consider your proposal, Marcus said carefully. This is a decision that affects all of humanity. You have 72 hours. Zethkar replied, his scales shifting to a cooler blue. The Council expects your complete cooperation in this matter. After the ambassador left, the three humans sat in stunned silence. Through the conference room windows, they could see Zethkar's ship departing Lunar Station, heading back toward the inner system where it would undoubtedly report to the Council fleet. They're scared, Torres said finally. The Council has maintained their power for thousands of years by controlling access to advanced technology. Now humanity has developed something they can't control. But they're right about the dangers. Yuki pointed out, if we're not careful, we could damage space-time so badly that interstellar travel becomes impossible for everyone. Marcus stood up and walked to the window, looking out at the endless stars. What if that's a risk we have to take? Humanity has been trapped in this system for 50 years, watching other species explore the galaxy while we're treated like children. Maybe it's time to grow up. As he spoke, alarm klaxons began sounding throughout the station. The three scientists rushed to the command center, where they found the duty officers staring at their screens in shock. What's happening? Torres demanded. Council ships, the duty officer replied. Dozens of them. They're taking positions around the entire Sol system. On the main display, Marcus could see the deployment pattern. Council vessels were moving too. Blockade every major space lane, every asteroid mining operation, every human colony. It was a show of force designed to demonstrate just how serious the Council was about containing humanity's new technology. They're not waiting for our answer, Marcus realized. The quarantine has already begun. Torres clenched her fists. Then we need to act fast. How quickly can we build more quantum breach drives? The prototype took 3 years to develop. Yuki said, but now that we know it works, we could probably build 12 units in 6 months. Then we start immediately, Marcus decided. If the Council wants to cage us, they'll discover that humanity doesn't stay caged for long. As the three scientists began planning their next moves, they had no idea that their conversation was being monitored by Council intelligence assets. The decision to defy the Council's demands would have consequences that none of them could imagine. In the depths of space, at the very edge of the Sol system, a massive Council dreadnought began powering up its weapons systems. The galaxy's oldest and most powerful species had decided that humanity's new technology was too dangerous to exist. The question was whether humanity would have the courage to fight for their right to reach for the stars. The Council's fear and humanity's choice. High Chancellor Mordok had lived for over 1,500 years, but he had never felt as old as he did while staring at the holographic display in the Council's emergency session chamber. The ancient being's crystalline body pulsed with a deep purple light, indicating the profound concern that gripped his consciousness. Around him, representatives from 47 different species filled the vast amphitheater on Nexus Station, the political heart of the Galactic Council. Each race had sent their most senior diplomats and military leaders, understanding that they faced a crisis unlike any in recorded history. "The damage assessment is complete," announced Dr. Velt, the Council's chief scientist. The blue-skinned humanoid projected a three-dimensional map of local space, showing the quantum disturbance that had originated from humanity's test. "The spatial wound is healing, but slowly. Complete recovery will take approximately 50 years. And if they use the technology again?" asked Fleet Admiral Kexler, the insectoid military leader whose species had served as the Council's primary defenders for over 2 millennia. "Each use will create new wounds," Dr. Veltar replied. "Our models suggest that repeated application of quantum breach technology could create a cascade effect, making faster-than-light travel impossible throughout this entire spiral arm within a century." Mordok felt the weight of decision pressing down on him. The Council had been formed over 3,000 years ago to prevent exactly this kind of catastrophe. Young species, driven by ambition and curiosity, often developed technologies that could threaten the stability of the galaxy itself. It was the Council's responsibility to guide them away from such dangerous paths. "What is the current status of the human response?" Mordok asked. Ambassador Zethkar, who had just returned from Lunar Station, stood to address the assembly. His reptilian features were grim as he spoke. "The humans have refused to surrender their research. They claim that the technology represents their path to true independence from Council oversight." A wave of concerned murmurs swept through the chamber. The idea of a junior species openly defying Council authority was almost unthinkable. "Furthermore," Zethkar continued, "our intelligence assets report that the humans have begun construction of additional quantum breach drives. They appear to be planning widespread deployment of the technology." Admiral Kexler's mandibles clicked together in agitation. "Then we must act immediately. A single strike against their research facility would end this threat and start a war with humanity," Mordok replied, "which would accomplish nothing except to further destabilize the region." The High Chancellor had dealt with humanity for over half a century, and he understood their psychology better than most Council members. Humans were stubborn, proud, and fiercely independent. They would fight to the death before surrendering, what they saw as their greatest achievement. "Perhaps we could offer them an alternative," suggested Ambassador Thyser, the elegant feline representative from the Stellar Federation. "Better conventional FTL technology in exchange for abandoning their quantum breach research." "They've already rejected that option," Zethkar replied. Dr. Chen made it clear that humanity will not be satisfied with anything less than technological parity with the Council races. Dr. Velter activated a new display showing the comparative capabilities of human and council technology. The quantum breach drive is approximately 40 times faster than our best FTL systems. If the humans deploy it widely, they could explore more of the galaxy in 1 year than we have in the past century. The implications were staggering. Humanity could establish colonies in distant systems, make contact with unknown species, and potentially discover resources or technologies that would shift the balance of power in the galaxy. There's another concern, Admiral Kexler said quietly. The quantum breach drive could be weaponized. A ship equipped with the technology could breach directly into the heart of any star system, including our capital worlds. The chamber fell, silent as the full magnitude of the threat became clear. Humanity hadn't just developed a new form of transportation. They had created the most devastating weapon in galactic history. Meanwhile, on Lunar Station, Dr. Marcus Chen stood in the new construction bay that had been hastily converted from a storage facility. Around him, teams of engineers and technicians worked around the clock to build humanity's first fleet of quantum breach-equipped vessels. The first 3 drives should be ready within the month, reported Dr. Sarah Walsh, the director of human space research who had arrived from Earth the previous day. Earth's industrial capacity is being redirected to support the project. Marcus nodded, but his attention was focused on the tactical display that showed the Council fleet's positions throughout the Sol system. They're tightening the blockade. Any ship that tries to leave the system is being turned back. Commander Torres joined them, her expression grim. It's not just about controlling our movements. The Council is trying to strangle our economy. Trade ships can't get through, and our outer colonies are starting to report supply shortages. How long can we hold out? Marcus asked. Maybe 6 months, Torres replied. But the real question is whether we can finish enough quantum breach drives to break the blockade before our resources run out. The answer came from an unexpected source. Fleet Admiral Kane, the highest officer in Earth's Space Command, appeared on the main communication screen. The grizzled veteran had fought in the last war against the Proxima pirates and was known for his tactical brilliance. Dr. Chen, Admiral Kane, said, "I need to know how many operational quantum breach drives we can have ready within 2 weeks." 2 weeks? Marcus was taken aback. "Admiral, we're still in the early stages of construction. Maybe 2 units, possibly 3 if we push everything to the maximum." "That'll have to be enough," Kane replied. "The Council fleet is moving to take control of our asteroid mining operations. If we don't act soon, they'll have complete economic control over humanity." Torres stepped forward. "Admiral, what are you planning?" "A demonstration," Kane said, simply. "We're going to show the Council that humanity won't be caged." The plan was audacious in its simplicity. 2 ships equipped with quantum breach drives would simultaneously breach to different points outside the Sol system, then return before the Council could react. The message would be clear. Humanity could not be contained. 3 days later, the demonstration began. The ships were small, experimental craft built specifically for testing the quantum breach technology. Each was crewed by volunteers who understood the risks they were taking. From the command center on Lunar Station, Marcus watched as the first ship powered up its quantum breach drive. The familiar tier in space-time opened, but this time it was carefully controlled and precisely targeted. "Breach successful," reported the ship's captain over the communication channel. "We're at the edge of the Alpha Centauri system." Seconds later, the second ship breached to a position near the Vega system. Both ships spent exactly 10 minutes in their target locations, long enough for Council sensors to detect them, before breaching back to the Sol system. The reaction was immediate and dramatic. Within hours, the Council fleet had repositioned itself into a more aggressive formation, and additional warships were arriving from across the galaxy. "They're scared," Torres observed as she watched. "The tactical display. Really scared." Ambassador Zethkar's next visit to Lunar Station confirmed her assessment. The reptilian diplomat's scales were a deep, angry red as he confronted the human scientists. "You have no idea what you've started," Zethkar said, his voice tight with barely controlled fury. "The Council has voted to authorize military action against the Sol system." "What kind of military action?" Marcus asked, though he dreaded the answer. "Complete occupation," Zethkar replied. "Council forces will seize control of all human installations and technology. The quantum breach research will be destroyed, and humanity will be placed under direct Council administration." The threat was unprecedented. In 3,000 years of galactic civilization, the Council had never completely subjugated a member species, but humanity's defiance had pushed them to the breaking point. "When?" Torres asked. 72 hours, Zethkar said. "Unless you surrender voluntarily." After the ambassador left, the three humans sat in stunned silence. The choice before them was stark: submit to Council rule or fight against impossible odds. "We can't win a conventional war," Torres said finally. "The Council has thousands of ships and billions of soldiers. We have maybe 100 vessels and no significant military allies." "But we have something they don't," Marcus replied. "We have the quantum breach drive." Dr. Walsh, who had been quietly listening to the conversation, suddenly spoke up. "What if we don't use it for war? What if we use it for something else entirely?" "What do you mean?" Yuki asked. "Evacuation," Walsh said. "If we can't defend the Sol system, maybe we can abandon it. Take our entire population and breach to somewhere the Council can't find us." The idea was breathtaking in its scope. Humanity would become a nomadic species, using their quantum breach technology to stay ahead of Council forces, while establishing hidden colonies throughout the galaxy. "It's possible," Marcus said slowly. "The drive is fast enough that we could reach unexplored regions of the galaxy before the Council could track us." "But we'd be giving up our home," Torres pointed out. "Earth, Mars, the asteroid colonies, everything we've built over the past 5 centuries. Better than slavery," Marcus replied. "And maybe, someday, we'll be strong enough to come back." As the three humans debated humanity's future, they were unaware that their conversation was being monitored by Council intelligence assets. The decision to evacuate the Sol system would have consequences that none of them could imagine. In the depths of space, High Chancellor Mordok received the intelligence report with a mixture of relief and concern. If humanity chose to flee rather than fight, it would avoid a devastating war. But it would also create a new problem: a species armed with dangerous technology, loose in the galaxy with no oversight. "Let them go," Mordok decided, "but we'll be watching. And if they ever threaten the stability of the galaxy, we'll be ready." As the 72-hour deadline approached, ships throughout the Sol system began powering up their quantum breach drives. Humanity was about to embark on the greatest adventure in its history, driven by the same curiosity and determination that had first carried them to the stars. The future was uncertain, but it was free, and for humanity, that was enough. The breach drives activated simultaneously, tearing holes in space-time across the Sol system. Through those wounds in reality, humanity's ships vanished into the unknown. leaving behind only empty space and the echo of their defiance. The age of human expansion had begun.